We had my husband's best friend and his wife over yesterday. We don't usually drink or stay up late, but they came over after we put our child down, and they had left their child with in-laws for the night. So it was our first time being child-free together since we had kids. My husband has been best friends with this guy since before he met me. I've always liked his wife and have been getting pretty close to her in the past year, and we even call each other best friends now. Well, we stayed up late and had a very good time. Eventually, at about 1:30 a.m., my daughter woke up, so I left and called it quits by that time. I was done drinking and was getting tired, so I lay down with my daughter and fell asleep in her room. My friend came into my daughter's room and told me she wanted to talk really quickly. She admitted that she started telling him a thing or two about how she feels about him and that he started crying. She said she apologized to him and she apologized to me too, and said maybe she had too much to drink and shouldn't have said anything. I just shook my head and told her that maybe it was just getting late for all of us, and after a hug, they left. My husband just went straight to bed without saying anything, so I figured I would bring it up later. Today, my husband is being so grumpy. I woke up with my daughter and let him sleep in, but at about 11 a.m., I told him that I needed him to get up so we could clean and wash up before church, our usual Saturday routine for the past 3 years. I told him after we clean, we can take a nap with my daughter if we're still tired. Well, it took him 30 minutes to get out of bed. When he finally got up, he just lay around and would go on his phone. I constantly kept asking him to get up because it was late. He wouldn't answer me every time, and at some point, I got tired of nagging and stopped. He just lay around while I cleaned. Finally, I sat down for a little and asked him about yesterday, and he grumbled that I told my friend that he's a horrible person, so she was berating him. I was shocked and said no, I never told her anything about our relationship. She's my friend, yes, but I don't talk about my marriage problems to anyone. So I told him, and he just shrugged and said that she said something along the lines of, he doesn't treat me well, and that he should learn to grow up. The funny thing is, his behavior today just stands out knowing what she said to him. In my head, I wanted to tell him off that what she said was true, but I didn't. I just told him that I'm glad my friend has my back, but I swear what she said is from her own assumptions of our relationship. He said she probably misunderstood something I said. I think it's interesting that I found out not long ago that my husband's younger brother also yelled at my husband about his behavior. It makes me feel more confident in myself about my feelings for him and our marriage. I'm tired of being the bigger person all the time. I'm already 1 foot out the door, and he doesn't even seem to try to make me stay other than cry. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. How poorly does he treat you in front of others that so many have to say something? I can only imagine it's so much worse alone with him. Sounds like he's not so great if he feels free to do whatever he is doing in front of people, to not only make them think this, but push them to act. Edit. Never mind. I read your post history. The guy is so terrible and degrades you at every turn that you don't even notice it anymore, while others around you can't help but say something. You didn't tell her. She sees him being an awful person to you with her own eyes. When are you going to leave this guy? Original poster. Comment 2, that's a true friend there, don't let her go. Him? He can kick rocks. Sometimes it's those outside of the situation who can see it better than we can when we're in it. She's seeing things for how they really are, and she called it like she saw it. Here's the real question. He claims you told your friend he's a horrible person. Did you lie to your friend at all? Yes or no? If no, who should he be mad at? You for having an honest conversation with a friend? Or himself for being horrible and then having people see that he's horrible? Now, for the update. I'm not going to recap the whole thing, but it's been a few weeks since the awkward night with my friend and my husband. Life's been pretty much the same. Just doing my thing, managing the household and taking care of our kid, the usual. But yeah, there's still this weird vibe in the house. I'm trying to keep it normal for the kid, you know? My husband's been acting all distant and uninterested in family activities. It's like I'm living with a stranger sometimes. A few days ago, I took our kid to a birthday party for a friend's kid at this local community center. The place was packed with parents and screaming kids. You get the picture. But I couldn't help but notice my husband laughing and joking with all the other parents. It was a side of him I hadn't seen in a while, and it kind of made me sad. One mom came up to me and was like, "Isn't your husband close to that woman named Lisa?" I was like, who? I had no idea who she was talking about. So after the party, I asked my husband about this Lisa chick. He just brushed it off, saying it was nothing. But I couldn't shake this feeling, like something was off. A few days later, I found this unfamiliar receipt in his jacket pocket. It was for dinner at this restaurant I'd never heard of, dated a few days prior. I confronted him about it, and he got all defensive, denying there was anything wrong. I was getting frustrated, like, why can't you just be honest with me? So when he left his phone unattended, I took the opportunity to snoop a little. I found these messages between him and Lisa, and they seemed really friendly, like way too friendly for just work friends. I confronted him again, this time with all the evidence I found. He said she was just a friend from work who needed support. But then I discovered pictures of them at the same restaurant. The timestamps showed they were there on the night of the receipt. I mean, come on. I confronted him one more time, demanding an explanation. He admitted to having dinner with her, but insisted it was work-related. I just couldn't believe anything he said at this point. So, my friend from the awkward night, she and I started spending more time together. I know this sounds weird, but she was the only one I could talk to about everything. One night, we're just hanging out, and she casually drops this bomb. She had feelings for my husband. I was shocked. She said she didn't know why she was telling me, but she just felt like I needed to know. I started thinking about how to expose my husband and this Lisa girl. I wanted him to realize what he stood to lose. So I invited both my husband and my friend to a dinner party at our house. I made the place look nice and cooked a meal that took forever. But the secret weapon? I set up a recording device to capture everything. As we sat down to eat, I casually brought up Lisa again. My husband's reaction was priceless. He was clearly uncomfortable and tried to change the subject. Then I played the recordings of our past conversations. The atmosphere shifted instantly. His lies unraveled right in front of my friend. Her face went pale, and she realized the depth of the betrayal. I calmly told my husband that I wouldn't tolerate this kind of deceit in my life. I handed him a letter detailing my decision to separate. The next day, I changed the locks on the house. I made sure he couldn't get in. I filed for separation and made it clear that I was done with all his nonsense. I can't believe I finally did it. I mean, I always thought I was too weak to stand up for myself. But reading all your comments really made me think. I'm not going to settle for a life like that anymore. Today, I took the biggest step for myself. I changed the locks on the house and filed for separation. I won't be living with a stranger anymore, and I deserve to be happy. Thank you all for giving me the push I needed. I will be okay, and I'm looking forward to a brighter future. Take care. To answer a few questions, my friend and I have been spending time together for support and understanding. She has always respected boundaries and was unaware of the extent of my husband's actions until recently. I invited her to the dinner party for her insights and to witness my husband's reactions firsthand. The recordings consisted of past conversations, showcasing the lies he told me, and the truth about his relationship with Lisa. This was a turning point for me. Am I the idiot for slamming the door on my ex who thinks he can waltz back into my life after years of chaos? My son's father and I broke up when I was pregnant. He was absolutely awful, cheated nonstop, and was mentally and physically hurtful. I was young and very naive, but left when I was about 2 months pregnant. We hated each other for the entire pregnancy and toddler years. I did everything myself. I worked, gave birth alone, and took care of a newborn with no help. I turned to mom groups for advice. I went to family court and started to figure life out on my own as a single mother. I stayed single while my ex dated every woman he could find. I grew up a lot and took care of myself physically and mentally. A year and a half ago, I met my fiancé. He is so patient, kind, handsome, and loving. everything I waited for in a man. My ex and I started to become friends a year ago. We began to do things together with our son. We got along better as co-parents than we ever have. My fiancé helped me mature and move past my traumas. I went from being a single mother who has always been working since I was 15 to now being a stay-at-home mom. I'm happier, healthier, definitely more mature, and a loving mother and future wife. My ex noticed my change and is now obsessed with getting back together. He said he didn't see my potential back then, but he sees how much I've grown and thinks I should leave my fiancé for him. I laughed in his face because I thought maybe he was joking. For the past 3 weeks, he's been blowing up my phone, saying we should be together for our son, or our son will end up in prison if he doesn't have his parents together. I told him straightforward that I have zero interest in him in any romantic or any other way. He refuses to accept my responses. I began ignoring him, but he starts texting about our son. I reply, and then he's back to the same old stupid delusional comments. My fiancé knows. We are both fed up with him at this point. He's even started trying to drop our son off on Sunday nights, knowing Sundays are the days my fiancé goes to see his son. Last Sunday I gave in because I missed my son, and he tried to get me to let him in, knowing my fiancé was not home. I slammed the door in his face. Each day that goes by, I get extremely frustrated that he thinks I would ever go back to that terrible, miserable, unhappy relationship we had. I don't know what else to do. I was nice in my rejection. I was rude, and now I just want to scream in his face to get a life. Additionally, while I had a newborn, he had women harass me, telling them I'm crazy and so in love with him while he never wanted me. He told his girlfriend at the time that he wished I committed unalived. He went to my siblings and mom to seem like the victim, but they all laughed at him and blocked him. I honestly thought we had gotten over the past and were getting along for our son. But now he thinks I'm wife material. I should just date a guy who still lives with his mom and doesn't even own his own car. Meanwhile, I worked and saved to buy my dream car, and my fiancé and I moved into our dream house. We are traveling as a family, and my son has recently started calling him Daddy. Has anyone dealt with this? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Hi, I really want to keep things civil since you're the father of our son, but to be honest, I don't feel safe around you because you can't take no for an answer. Last Sunday, you tried to get into my apartment when my fiancé wasn't home. That was not okay. If you keep contacting me about starting a relationship, I'm going to go to the courthouse and fill out the forms for a restraining order. Comment 2. He was never friends with you again. That was a long con that didn't pay off, and now he's doing everything possible to be a stalker. He knew you were in a serious relationship and only pretended to care about your son. He wants what he can't have. He tried to physically force entry into your home. You may need to do handovers in a public place. Now, for the update. A couple days after my last post, my ex showed up out of nowhere at our house with our son, saying he wanted to take him to the park. I was in the middle of making dinner for my fiancé and our son, so I said no and told him to leave. My ex argued that he had a right to spend time with his son whenever he wanted, even though we had a schedule. I reminded him about our arrangement, but he just kept insisting on taking our son out. Frustrated, I told him he could leave or I would call someone to help him understand the situation. He finally left, but not before telling me I was making a mistake by keeping him away from our son. Later that week, I got a message from my ex saying he wanted to talk about our son's future. I ignored the message, focusing instead on my upcoming family birthday party for my son. During the party, my ex showed up uninvited, bringing gifts that he clearly tried to make more extravagant than what we had planned. He interrupted the party, making a scene about how he just wanted to celebrate his son's birthday. My fiancé tried to talk to him, but my ex brushed him off, insisting on being a part of everything. It got tense as my family watched, and my son seemed confused by the sudden change. I asked my ex to leave, but he refused, claiming he was entitled to stay for his son's special day. My brother finally stepped in, escorting my ex out of the house while he shouted about being a better father. A few days later, I got a text from my ex saying he was going to file for joint custody. I talked to our family lawyer, who explained what a custody battle would mean. Over the weekend, we took our son to a local zoo for a fun day out. My ex showed up again, this time with a friend, saying he had every right to be there since it was a public space. I asked him to leave us alone, but he started to argue about how he was just being a father. I walked away with my son, but my ex followed us, yelling about how he was being pushed out of our lives. My fiancé tried to step in, but my ex escalated the argument, making it clear he wanted to fight for more time with our son. Tired of the chaos, I decided to leave the zoo early and went home. That night, I got a message from my ex demanding to see our son the following weekend. The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door from my ex, detailing his demands for visitation. A couple of days later, I got a call from my ex's friend asking about our son's upcoming school events. I confronted my ex about this, and he denied it, saying he just wanted to be involved. It turned into another argument, with him threatening to take legal action if I didn't comply. The following week, my son's school had an open house, and my ex showed up, uninvited again. He started talking to the teacher about joint projects, making it clear he wanted to be seen as an active participant in our son's life. I don't even know what to think anymore. This man just won't leave me alone. He keeps showing up wherever I am, and even though I told him about our arrangements, he's acting like a child throwing a tantrum. It's just so exhausting, and I feel like he's going to drag us into a custody battle. But I'm not about to let him take my son away. I've spoken with our family lawyer, and I know how much a custody battle would cost, both financially and mentally. I'm just trying to live my life with my family, and at the same time, be fair to my ex, but he's just not letting it go. I'm still processing everything, so there might be more updates as I work through it. Mini update. My ex filed for joint custody. We're now in a custody battle, which is exhausting and overwhelming for our whole family. Am I the idiot for telling my sister to stop policing my relationship and focus on her own marriage? We were having lunch on Sunday at my parents' like usual. We had been there for a couple of hours, had lunch, and I was busy getting play attacked by my nephews to notice her pulling him aside. When we all sat down in the living room afterwards, I reached for his hand out of habit and he pulled away. I thought I did something to upset him, but he didn't look upset and just shook his head, which is his sign for we'll talk later. I waited until we got home and asked him about it, and he said that my sister had pulled him aside and told him it's inappropriate for us to show public displays of affection in front of her children, that she didn't need them asking more questions. I racked my brain for the public displays of affection she was talking about, and the physical interactions I had with him were us holding hands and me playing with his band mindlessly while chatting with my father and him guiding my hand to a spot below his ear that was itching. So I wrapped my arm around him and started running my fingers over it to not outright scratch and irritate it. That's it. My fiancée argued back that we have never been inappropriate or unaware of our surroundings and company. She tried convincing him otherwise because she knows going to him was easier than dealing with me, because I would really let her have it if she brought it up again. She was never like this before. She was the first one I came out to and the first one that supported our relationship up until her child. She has two, 7 and 5. The 7-year-old asked us a question because his friend has 2 moms, and how come we switched? It was completely innocent curiosity. And I told him that you sometimes don't choose love, love chooses you. I thought it was appropriate without going into the whole women and men thing. He just nodded and went on his way and never batted an eye again. His younger brother doesn't care either. After that question, she asked me to keep the public displays of affection away from her kids. Never made out or even pecked his lips in front of the kids, just on his temple or knuckles. This is getting long, but after he told me, I called her and gave her an earful. I told her the kids don't care about me holding his hand or giving him a hug in front of them. How is it any different from her interacting with her husband or our mother with our father? She said that it was different because 2 men is not the social norm. I told her to leave me alone and stay out of my relationship and to never talk to my fiancé that way ever again. That's the rundown, but the call was long. I shouldn't have been so aggressive with my words, but we don't need this from my own family. I don't know what's gotten into her or how to reach her. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If this is a shift in character and attitude, once you calm down, have a conversation with her about where the change came from. It may not change anything, but more information is usually a good thing, since you may at least have more understanding. Definitely don't back down since you're not doing anything inappropriate. If she doesn't like it, that's not your problem. Comment 2. If she was the type of person who was also uncomfortable with heterosexual public displays of affection, I would maybe try to moderate my behavior. The fact that she is okay with men and women showing affection, but not men and men, shows who she really is, and that she is using her children as an excuse. What do your parents think? Now for the update. 2 days after that awful phone call with my sister, my fiancé and I got an invite to a family barbecue at my parents' house. My fiancé insisted we should go to avoid any more family drama. I wasn't too keen on it, but he thought it would be better if we showed up together and acted like everything was fine. Long story short, we went. When we got to the barbecue, it was everything you'd expect from a family get-together. Lots of laughter, the smell of grilled food, and kids running around. My sister was already there with her husband and my brother. They were chatting with my parents when we walked in. My mom came right over, all smiles, offering us food and drinks. I could tell she was trying to keep the mood light. Not gonna lie though, it was kinda hard to enjoy when I could feel my sister's eyes on us. It felt like she was staring at us too much, like she was watching our every move. My fiancé tried to break the ice by complimenting the food, and all she did was give a little nod. So much for a warm welcome. To keep myself from feeling all awkward, I focused on my nephews. They were running around and pretending to be superheroes. It was nice to see them having fun and not worrying about any of the grown-up stuff. Halfway through the barbecue, my sister pulled me aside. I braced myself for another fight, ready for her to go off on me again. But she surprised me. She wanted to apologize for what she said on the phone. She explained that her husband had brought up how their kids are curious about love and relationships, and that got her thinking. She said she understood, but then she said our parents had voiced some concerns about the kids asking questions. My fiancé stepped in at that point and said our love is valid and should be shown openly, no matter what. When he said that, my sister raised her voice, saying it wasn't just about us. It was like all the tension from before came rushing back. My brother tried to calm things down. He mentioned how he and his wife had talked about the same stuff when it came to their future kids. I think he was just trying to find some common ground for everyone. Then, out of nowhere, my mom said she had something to share. Everyone turned to her, curious about what she was going to say. She revealed that she'd been getting these anonymous letters criticizing our family dynamics. My sister looked shocked, and my brother immediately asked if the letters mentioned anything specific. My mom pulled out one of the letters and read it aloud. It had some pretty pointed comments about my relationship with my fiancé, things that felt way too personal for a random letter. My sister's face changed when she heard that. She admitted she'd received a similar letter about her marriage. The whole family started speculating about who could be sending these letters. The mood was definitely not festive anymore. My fiancé said we should confront the sender directly, but my sister dismissed that idea, saying it could cause more drama than necessary. The barbecue ended on that uncertain note. Everyone just went quiet, and it felt like we were all in our own heads. My mom suggested we all bond over making a plan to handle the letters. It was her way of trying to get everyone back on the same page, I think. As we were getting ready to leave, I got a text from an unknown number. It had just one line: "You should know the truth about your sister." I felt like I was going to explode. I needed to find out what was going on, so I decided we had to confront my sister again. I just needed clarity about this whole situation. Edit: I didn't expect my sister to apologize at the barbecue, but it became tense when my fiancé and I disagreed with her reasoning. She said our parents were worried about questions the kids might ask, which is why she brought it up. My brother mentioned having similar conversations with his wife about their future kids. The letters my mom received caught us off guard, and my sister admitted to getting one too, which changed the atmosphere completely. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.